I'm kind of curious. I mean, you've watched the whole, evolution of the press.
Yeah.
I mean, you worked here in London in the press rooms, and you've seen it come all the way up to where now you're a YouTuber.
Yeah, I know. Incredible.
It's crazy.
It is.
But what do you see? I mean, you have a wealth of knowledge that I don't have, the YouTubers don't have. I mean, you've watched the press evolve into the state now where, you've got, you were telling me earlier, you got likes and comments to worry about, a whole nother version, but also something that scales you to potentially tens of millions of more people.
Yeah.
Are you happy with the way the press has evolved, or do you wish it was like the old days?
I think inevitably it did have to evolve from what it was, but just because of all the other things that were happening around it. Because when I tell my kids, when I used to have to go and find somebody, I used to get on a plane from New York. I remember going to Kansas City once to find some whole family who were doing something or other.
This is you being a reporter.
This is me being a reporter. Shoe leather on a plane. Get into the hire car, drive into the center of Kansas City, find a public library. Find all the phone books, start going through the phone books to look for the names of the people. Get a list of maybe 10 addresses, get in the car, go to every single one until you find them. And they're looking at me like, what? You did? How long did that take? I said, well, sometimes it took a couple of days. But then we found them and then we did the story. And so now, of course, they just go Google.
Yeah.
And a lot of people now, not my children, because I won't let them do it, don't learn anything because they just figure they can look it up.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had people that work with me, young producers in their 20s, and I go, how can you not know that? And they go, well, I don't need to know anything. If I need something, I'll just look it up. And so from the newspaper point of view, most people, funnily enough, I was watching an old movie with my 15-year-old, Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House, you might have seen it, about a guy, it's a Cary Grant film where he goes up to Connecticut, buys a house, it's a complete nightmare, everything goes wrong. He works in the advertising business in New York. And he's in his apartment in New York and he goes to the front door, answers it and takes a newspaper. And I said to my son, that's the first moment that he will know what happened in the world yesterday.
Right.
He's reading a newspaper today about what happened yesterday. And again, he's looking at me like, what? I said, now we know what happens in Lebanon.
Yeah.
Literally the second a bomb goes off.
Yeah.
The same second. And it's broadcast all over the world. And I think for me, what really changed the world of newspapers certainly was the first Gulf War, because I was working in America. And in those days, I would call up and say somebody's been shot on the courthouse steps outside of a divorce court in Florida. They'd go, right, page one, great story. Now I would call them and say, oh, have you seen that, Bush is doing this, doing that? Yeah, we're watching it on CNN. So they had CNN on in the newsroom in London. Right. And that was the end, I think, of the old-fashioned kind of reporting, really. So everything was changing already.
Because of the 24-hour news channels.
Because of 24-hour news channels.
Right,
and so Ted Turner kind of, I guess, started that revolution. And even then, people were saying, when Sky started up, people were going, who's going to watch television news for 24 hours? And well, a lot of people do. Some people only watch news 24 hours because there's nothing else worth watching. So I think newspapers have had their time, basically, and I think their influence is dwindling. I think they're now more likely to be the deliverers of something else. For example, the Times has got a very successful digital subscriber system now where you can get an iPad version of the Times, which I happen to love. It's not just because they're in the same company, because some people don't do it very well. The Mail, for example, which is a great product, doesn't do its iPad version very well. Neither does the Telegraph. They've got people, you've got to pay to get behind a paywall. It's just not worth doing. But I remember when I was working for the Mail on Sunday at one point, and it was during that period when they would give away a DVD of a movie with the paper. And the magazine editor that I was working with at the time said, one day they'll be giving a paper away with a DVD. And she was right. Because actually, who buys a newspaper anymore? I mean, when I see them in the mornings, I love ripping up The Guardian, as you probably know. It's one of my favourite pastimes. But I would not actually physically buy a newspaper anymore. And I never thought, when I was working for them, I'd ever say that.